Hey, I'm Grant Davies, one of the makers of the Nintendo eShop game Fractured Soul. Fractured Soul is an old school style platformer that will test your skills rather than hold your hand, and with a 3DS twist, it is played across both screens of the 3DS at once. Looking at just one screen to start with, we can see that Fractured Soul starts out like any other platform game. The basic controls are simply jumping, double jumping, and shooting. Things get a little more interesting when we reveal the upper screen. A similar environment is revealed, but the hero is ghosted out on that screen. When you're ghosted, you can't interact with the environment, you cannot damage enemies, you cannot be damaged by enemies, and you cannot stand on platforms in that screen. For example, the ladder here only exists on the upper screen, and as a ghost, you can't climb it. But if you tap either shoulder button to switch screens, now you can. Switching screens is at the very core of Fractured Soul. And later on it's used in some really crazy ways, but for now, let's just look at the basics. Here's the first secret of the game, locked away behind a door. We can switch screens to get around the door, and then back again to collect the secret. In this simple jumping puzzle, there's a platform we'll need to stand on, so we'll need to ensure we're on the right screen before jumping. And the same deal here. Enemies can of course be killed by shooting them, but in some cases you can switch screens and avoid them completely. Collecting this secret is going to need a mid-air switch. It's a skill that gets more and more important as you progress through Fractured Soul. It's as simple as tapping a shoulder button during the jump. It might seem confusing at first, but soon it will be as natural to you as running or jumping. Mid-air switching gets even more exciting when you need to switch twice before landing. With this laser in the way here, we're going to need a jump, then switch to avoid the laser, then switch back before landing so we land on the platform on the other side. While some parts of Fractured Soul require your very best platforming skills, others require a little bit of careful strategy. With this laser sweeping across the platform here, there's no way we can run past on the screen we're currently on. Fortunately, there's a platform halfway along on the other screen. Switching allows us to do things that you might not normally expect. For example, here we can travel down through the ground by switching around the floor. You're going to need to think a little differently to beat Fractured Soul. Further into the game, the difference between the two screens becomes even greater. In underwater levels, you can't run as fast on the upper screen, but you can jump much higher. Of course, we'll force you into situations where it's extremely uncomfortable to stay on one screen too long, such as where a giant laser is chasing you and you cannot outrun it as long as you're underwater. Another world where we do this is the extreme heat world. Stay too long in the heat and you'll start to take damage. Sometimes it can be difficult to escape the heat quickly enough. Wind will push you around in that screen, sometimes to your advantage, sometimes not so much. And as for anti-gravity, well, it probably speaks for itself. And if all that wasn't enough, we've added some shmup levels as well. These levels also use screen switching. You'll need to keep killing enemies on each screen to ensure that you don't run out of fuel. This makes for a frenzy of explosions and a constant vigilance to ensure that neither screen runs empty. At the end of every level, you are rated on your performance out of 5 stars. When you're done with the core game, you can come back and replay each level to improve your performance. You're rated on speed, how many secrets you collected, and whether you took any damage. You can then upload your best times to our built-in leaderboards and compete with the entire world, or just your 3DS friends. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to find out more, you can visit our community at fracturedsoul.com. Fractured Soul is available for purchase now on the Nintendo eShop.